All right, welcome everyone. Welcome to the Hurley Investments Market View Commentary for Monday, the 28th of September. We are approaching the last week of a quarter, which means Wednesday could be a pretty volatile day. With that said, just going through a little review. Fourth consecutive weekly drop in the S&P. It is only up, as I was just recently checking. It is only up year-to-date 3.74%. So 3.74% is the year-to-date S&P 500. We've got 3 more sessions. This one, well, we had 2 more sessions. I believe the end of the month occurs, I don't believe, I know. It occurs on this Wednesday. This Wednesday, the end of a quarter. It's most likely, I haven't checked and I probably should have. It will most likely be a quadruple witching where you'll have futures and commodities and options expiration and end of a month. It's like it all happens all at once. But it cancels itself out for the quarter. That's what we're coming up to. All of a sudden, elevated cases for COVID are now running rampant. I guess the short answer is you kind of want to say, duh. But when there was talk of the House coming back last week for trying to put together a deal, that sparked some interest in our markets. And in all honesty, if that carrot can be dangled up through the election, that gets us through October and into earnings. That'll be a very interesting carrot to dangle out in front of us. In the past, you've had rate cuts in September that haven't helped out October at all. October is usually just a bugger of a month. It's where people are getting ready for Christmas. It is what it is. With that said, we made a couple interesting moves that we're going to go over, but let me put this into just a thought process. As Keeve and I and Jeff have been doing a little bit of talking here. The oil sector is dead. I wouldn't be in an ExxonMobil, a Chevron. I wouldn't be in any of them, period. I know Jeffrey's working on an ExxonMobil one that he's trying to work on finding profitability, but there's just no catalyst. On the flip side, in no way, shape, or form do I think technology is dead. And I heard a lot on CNBC and Bloomberg and Fox News last night. Technology is overvalued. Technology is this. Technology is that. It's had its run. And I disagree. It's just a shifting of technology. And to a certain degree, I am shocked at how much the online technologies have done, the Zoom video and so forth. But you still are going to need that technology when people come back. The key, though, comes down to a very interesting article, which I thought was 100% absolutely hilarious. And this is not true Warren Buffett. He did not say this. It's just something that they're attributing to him. But a comment that was made, nope, not this one, excuse me. Here you go. This is the #1 work skill of the future, but most fail to realize it. I'm going to give you guys a chance. What is the #1 skill that plain and simple will be the work skill of the future. Give it a shot. Tell me what you think. For those of you who don't know, Kiev is in Mexico, and I am covering for all of Kiev's clientele this week. So if there's a question or concern, come to me. Really, 3 of them just came up in a row. Computer technology, programming. Actually, it is none of those. I would call this skill a personal trait skill. Integrity. So you saw what I had with Warren Buffett? No, that is not the one that we're looking for. It's not integrity. But Stanford psychology expert, this is the #1 work skill of the future. Emotional intelligence. So, Mod, you might be saying common sense. I don't know if this next generation have it. Being able to collaborate. Now, it's interesting because that was an important one back in the 90s when I was selling video conferencing equipment, but that's not it. Objective analysis. Man, all these are perfect. All these are showing people that have managed people in the past and what we looked for in our generation. Telling the truth, that goes with integrity, Ida. It's not that. Say it for what it is, because when it all comes down to it, this is probably garbage anyway. And it's a fancy way of saying what they should have just said, plain and simple. Call themselves indistractable, meaning they can't be distracted. Which is funny because I would tend to maybe call that something else. I would call it focus, to maintain a focus. With that said, in all honesty, I'm just going to make a couple comments. I have noticed for those that are substance addicted, usually smoking, chew, some that are trying to get off of some soft drugs, some hard drugs. For those that are substance addicted, they literally need a break every hour to hour and a half. 2 breaks and a lunch does not cut it. There are some, well, I've seen this, I've seen that, and I'm going to, obviously I'll give it to you, but the majority of people that are substance addicted in some way, shape, or form need at least 4 breaks. And in my personal experience, primarily talking with someone that smokes or someone that chews, the breaks are 20 minutes and you're basically giving 2 40 minutes before, 2 20 minutes, which equal 40 minutes before a lunch break, a lunch hour, and then you have 40 minutes in between the other time. I'm going to say in a work environment, the first half hour to 45 minutes is shooting the bull. Same thing with the half hour before lunch, shooting the bull. It takes people to get back into their work 15, 20 minutes after lunch. And very rarely in my history have I seen someone work right up till 5 o'clock. That's been technically in sales or an hourly wage that's $20 or less. As I read through the article, I found it interesting because obviously, if we're moving out to work from home, well, Kevin, won't this help people at being distracted, right? Won't this help them not have to drive to work, to smoke in their home or what have you. I don't know. But out of curiosity, what do you think the biggest problem is, or the biggest individual that takes away from your time when you're working from home? And now this is changing. It requires discipline and ability to concentrate. Agree 100%. It takes discipline to work the hours you should work for the pay you're receiving. Agreed. And William, do you guys have siestas out there in England? There you go. It's family. In all honesty, most men that work from home, and I've seen it plenty of times, it's an open honey-do list. On the flip side, now with kids at home, it's even harder to keep the kids on track. Dad, I need this. Dad, I need that. It's tough. It's really tough. For dual income workers, where both the husband and wife are working, and to have the kids at home right now, I would basically say it's impossible. It's absolutely impossible. And it's hard because we've trained ourselves to be good parents, to take care of the needs of our kids. It's interesting where when I worked from home, I found out that in about 6 hours, I could get done what it would take me 8 hours to do at work. So on most days on previous jobs, and this was a sales job in the moving industry, it was a sales job in a call center, a sales job in education, a sales job in a sign business I owned. Sign business actually that did, I think it was the 2003 Super Bowl and all the signage there. If I could just be left the hell alone, what it would take me 8.5 hours to do at work, I could get done in 6 or less. So then what do? I get into a business of managing money. And I'll be honest with you, most people that manage money do this. They check on the market at the open, and they go and golf around 18. And they check the market after that 18, and they hit lunch. And then sometime that evening, they check the market and they see where it ended. And that's it. 3 10-minute time periods, if that. And for 30 minutes of work, they think they've done a wage worth of work. I know some people from Goldman Sachs that would not consider doing an online webinar. Kevin, why in the hell would you talk to your clientele? I don't know. Kevin, why would you wake up an hour and a half before the market opens and spend your time reading? You know, Kevin, you don't have to watch the market all day long. I get it. But you should be doing something. You should be checking valuations for stocks. You should be checking portfolios. At the end of the day, you should be going through every portfolio. I've got 4 people, myself included, that are stuck behind Boeing. We've done some great work on Boeing. But part of it is if you're not in front of where you're at, you can't understand that, hey, last Friday was the time to take protective puts off of Boeing. And last Friday was the time to dollar cost average long calls. And last Friday as it was buying into the close, was the day to work on Boeing. Something you can't do out on a golf course. Something you can't do sitting at home watching Netflix. Something you can't do at lunch or at dinner or whatever the hell these people do. I found it interesting because people need to know what's happening in our market. If you're managing money, or if you're trying to trade your own, really making it a full-time job gives you the best chance of success. It doesn't mean that every minute you got to be staring at your computer, listening to CNBC, Bloomberg, Fox, whatever you listen to. It means you've got to be paying attention. Keith is by far my right-hand man. And it's simple. Keith, to hire you on, to have you take part of this, to be part of it, if one of us is gone, someone else has to be within their computer within a couple minutes instantaneously. Well, I'm going to go to Mexico for a week. You jerk. You left me on the last day of a quarter. Let's face it. I'm going to be busy. I'm in front of a computer. I'm checking what I need to check. That's what you do. It's also a pretty big week. If you look at that last paragraph, ADP employment, and we have our average work week report that comes in on Monday, or excuse me, on Friday. Pretty busy week, personal income, personal spending. In fact, I should just go down to it. We have economic reports up the gazoo. Every day it's important. Consumer confidence tomorrow, GDP on Wednesday, along with pending home sales, personal income, personal spending, and initial claims on Thursday, average work week, which will be non-farm payroll, private payrolls, auto and truck orders, Michigan sentiment, factory orders. It's going to be a doozy. That's what will move our markets for this week. With that said, COVID. For crying out loud, Utah is double our worst month previously. In fact, Utah is becoming a hot spot for COVID. So all of a sudden, plain and simple, my family is starting to hunker down again. We don't have kids out at school. The one that could go to school for his senior year, we're jerks. We made him go online. He still is attending his baseball. Thank goodness baseball is relatively a segregated sport. And for all intents and purposes, we're holding off. We're holding off. We're keeping him out of it. Utah's 30th, but we're catching up. We are spiking as of recent. Look at those spikes the last 2 weeks. We are approaching double our worst that we had back in July. And really the worst that we thought it was like 700 and something. And we just hit 1411 the other day. So, welcome to herd immunity. Welcome to the fact that everyone's going to get it. And we're starting to really hunker down here in our state as things are starting to close again, which is only going to hurt small business. A couple weeks ago, I think it was a couple weeks ago, it was Abraham that sent it to me. We're still a ways away from a vaccine. In fact, if I could find that one. I could find that one really quickly. Vaccines, it won't even come to pass until middle of next year. I don't like them. I don't have it. I didn't take the screenshots. We're a ways away from a vaccine, one that's past phase 3 and that gets pushed out there. I will work on finding that for next time, but yes, we're a ways away. With that said, I'm going to go, our markets will end lower. They're going to end lower because I'm following the trend. They're close. Today I would have felt a lot better, but guess what? The Dow didn't break the 50-day, and we don't have our crossovers. The S&P is even worse. It gave us a doji. Nope, it didn't give us a doji. It was a NASDAQ. S&P. Trying to get up there, just, man, it was close. It was close. It closed right on it, but not over it. And then the NASDAQ gave us a doji. It was interesting because someone asked me, Kevin, why didn't you take off puts if you did it on Boeing, your dollar cost average on Boeing, why didn't you do it on Apple? And because there's our doji. For crying out loud, Apple today gave us a doji. That stupid little signal that looks like a T right there. Gave us a doji. I was just like, for crying out loud. Come on, help us out. Not going to happen. For that reason, we didn't break the 50-day previously, so we didn't take it off, and then we got a doji today. We're going to wait a day or two. I'd rather be protected through October than give away any returns on your stocks that are profitable, which in all reality, next week I'm going to come out with our earnings list, and you'll see we are somewhat close to earnings. In fact, in 2 weeks, we start our banks. Bank of America is on the 14th before the market opens. Ford is on the 28th. JP Morgan's on the 13th. KeyCorp is on the 21st. Micron is on the 29th, which is this week. Everything else is basically estimated right now. So instead of having that for you this week, next week I'm going to have our list of our core stocks, what we're mostly in, so you guys can see earnings events when they're coming up. All right. I'm giving October another 5%. It wouldn't surprise me if we were 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5% down before the election. I think you heard me saying it all the way back in March, April. Our gains for this year will most likely not come until after the election. I said it months ago. I said it half a year ago or more. And I'm still on board with that thinking. That's part of what I do. Instead of just sitting at home all day, I'm like, hey, you know what? Where could our market go? Let's look at past history. Let's look at last election time. Let's see where we're going to be. There's a lot of stuff that you could be spending your time researching to get a general idea where things are going to be heading. We probably will not have our gains this year until after the elections. And remember, the elections will probably drag on a week or two before we've called a winner. Watch Thanksgiving be the week that our market takes off and starts our Christmas rally. As I look through, I didn't see too much that made me think, hey, we need to put something internationally here. We do have the non-manufacturing for China. The reason why I didn't put that in and why I don't think it's that important, comes down to another article that I have that basically says their economy and their sales are shrinking or slowing, which is another reason to believe that they're fudging some of their numbers. Japan, large manufacturing, not really there. So I didn't see anything that I thought that this week was something that we had to pay attention to. It's just not, I got to get the right week. That was last week. No, that was this week. Never mind. Wednesday, our futures might be the China non-manufacturing. Wouldn't count on it. We had Thursday, and where's Friday? Euro Leader Summit, price index. Yeah, there's nothing that I see that gave me a reason to put anything internationally. How are you looking to trade? Again, just holding on, looking for earnings, looking to get into full collar positions, but we're just trying to get to the elections and earnings time, where not only am I going to cover us through earnings, I'm going to adjust those puts if we need to protect profits going into the elections. Some of what we did last week on Friday for Boeing, we did a lot of taking off of long puts. We did some adding of short calls, long calls. We dollar cost averaged quite a bit. We basically were prepping ourselves for a bump because it looks like the FAA is going to make their final test flight, and maybe here in a couple weeks, 3 to 4 weeks, they're going to get their bump. All right, what do I have here? China's online shopping growth stalls, a sign of a slow economy recovery. This was the article I was telling you about, why I didn't pay too much attention to Chinese numbers. Very interesting article on Warren Buffett. Don't bring anyone out this trade. I think I've done something before, but it's integrity. Pretty simple. Work skill, kind of hilarious, right? Gives you all this crap that they just waste time doing and easily distracted. I think those are kids in general. Boeing 337 will go into the FAA chief evaluation flight next week. That's this week. Pence said Americans should expect coronavirus to rise in days ahead. I'm going to give you a duh. And that's where I'm at for this week. In all honesty, we're just trying to get ourselves through an October and our elections till we will most likely see the gains of the year come to pass. Don't be surprised to see a pretty good drop in our stock market. It's what usually happens in October. We're up almost 4%. Let's see us down somewhere between 3 to 5% at the end of October. And then the gains for the year will be locked in. When you talk about the gains for the year being locked in, what we will most likely do is head back to our highs, the yearly highs, which means you have to go all the way back to, pretty sure it's going to be February where our highs. So when I say we're going back to our highs, well, maybe we're going to go back to our highs here just recently. But it wouldn't surprise me to see us finish at our February highs for the year. And again, that February high is going to be in that 6.5%, 7% range. We might have a good year next year, and at some point in time, the markets usually take a breather. It's unusual that we've done so well for so long. But questions for me, are there questions you guys have that you'd like to ask me that I can do my best to answer for you? Sorry, I'm grabbing something out of a little box I have. Great question, William. So let me put it this way. I can only talk about the U.S. markets. I don't follow the overseas markets, where I'm looking at what Europe is doing every single day. If, Spain is up, if England is up. I don't pay as much attention to Europe until it matters. And when I'm talking about that, I'm meaning when you guys got to pay off your bonds and when we run into a big issue that way. So I'm here to talk more about the US markets. It doesn't mean I don't look at the overseas markets, but I don't specifically look and spend time with a single overseas market. In fact, if I said anything, the market overseas I probably look at the most is going to be China. Is going to be China because it's the second largest economy, and that's the one that moves markets on a more consistent basis. So no, I'm not specifically looking at England or what have you on a daily basis. Especially if you're trading in the US, you're going to focus on those things that move US markets, and rarely, if ever, is that going to be a single country in the block. And I know you guys are separating out of the block, but still, it's been a long time since England lost the reserve currency status that I feel that it's moved markets worldwide. So that's why I'm not focusing or spending a bunch of time on England. And I hope that answers your question there for you. Maud, what would you do with any new money? Maud, I'd wait for new money, and that's going to go in the Christmas rally. I would not spend a bunch of time trying to outguess the market because probabilities or things are going to go lower before they go higher. If you're okay, maybe legging in and putting some to work, you could, but be expecting to dollar cost average it. Or if you're going to put something to work, put some money to work, make sure you have it protective putted. Maybe run through it through the earnings that are coming up. But really, if you had new money, I would be holding off. There's nothing that I would go put there's no rush to go stick your money into anything right now. And I'm saying that from someone that does think Trump is going to win, that I do think he's very business friendly. But I wouldn't put my new money to risk. If I did, it would be in at least a protective put. And if it's brand new money where you don't have a higher cost basis up high, I would do a full collar trade on it. If the market shoots up or your stock shoots up, be willing to get called away, be aggressive with short puts, and add some long calls that can be a stock replacement strategy that give you the ability to make some more money on the way up. So just something to think about. Two of you just said it, and I agree with both of you. We've had some lower volume. I should have pointed that out, but good that both of you noticed that. Although it's not super low. Where is it? Slightly lower volume for the S&P. But it's kind of what it does. Levels off and then it scoops up through the end of the year. You can see we've had higher volume through this year than through the end of last year. Are there any other questions you guys have? Yes, comment was just made. Option volume on Mondays is lower than on Fridays generally. That is correct, except for after the Monday after the monthly options expiration. The Monday after the options monthly expiration, you normally see a spike in option activity as they put new money to work. You also will see that at the end of a quarter. Usually on Mondays after the end of a quarter, you'll see a spike in options volume. But the reason why is because we have weeklies now and people are trying to clear out their weeklies. Problem with trading weeklies is it doesn't make your monthly so common. Any other questions? Kevin, where do you think Apple, Baidu, and Visa will head to? So Apple, I think, can buck the market, but they won't do it until their next earnings. They need to see an inflow and purchase of their 5G phone, which comes out in October. I don't even know how many they're going to have, so they might disappoint on how many they sell. But I would think longer term, Apple's going to head significantly higher. Same thing with Boeing. Baidu has not gotten any love. I would expect Christmas to move it higher. I also, for Visa, 2008 made me a believer in Visa. When I saw people not pay their mortgages and charge up their cards so that the kids had iPhones for Christmas, Visa usually can make some great money through the Christmas season. So for all four of those, I'm a believer in. With that said, over the Christmas break, we take a couple of weeks off, and I'm doing fundamental analysis on all of my stock positions that I have people in. And I'm also looking for competitors in that industry. So Visa, again, I've looked at American Express a bunch of times, doesn't come close. Discover doesn't come close. MasterCard intrigues me, but there's still more security in Visa than there is in MasterCard. So I look at competitors to see if there's something else in the industry that I'm missing. Any comments about Black Friday for customers to be launched in October? Amazon Black Friday. How am I going to put this? I don't know where people's heads are at when they trade Amazon. It has been so overvalued for so long without making any income. I don't understand. I wouldn't trade Amazon ever. Well, Kevin, you missed out on this great opportunity, and I get it. I get what you're saying. Yes, it's one I missed out on, but the risk was too great. The risk for Amazon was just too great. To have a PE of 122, a 4P of 71 with a drop of almost 50 earnings, right? I don't get it. I don't understand it. When it comes to their Black Friday in October and their new little gimmicks, I don't know. I don't trade them enough. I don't follow them enough. I can't give you an honest answer for a stock that is so fundamentally flawed that I just don't see it. I wouldn't ever trade Amazon. And I think in some way, shape, or form, someday people are going to pull their heads out. For those that got in with their $100 and spent, 15 years without any income, that have made a 3,000% return, I'm impressed. But I'm impressed to the point that you definitely gambled on these guys. And I don't know. For Zoom, Ida, I think Zoom still has some upside opportunity. They did an amazing job. I think Zoom is going to be the new one that helps smaller businesses or businesses in general. I think Zoom still has an upside available to them. But again, when you're going to show me a 622 PE and a Ford PE of 170, I wouldn't be in them. I'd be waiting for the first drop, and this is one where you'll make a ton of money in long puts. But I think these guys run into next year. I think there's so much of a so much that's what I'm looking for. So much momentum behind them that, yeah, I mean, go figure. You want to see one of the interesting tells also? Look at the insider transactions where they sold most of it off. Short float, holy crap. Kind of contradicts, right? All those that are short usually mean that there's a spike in it. I think it has more room to grow. I think it's way the hell out of whack. Fundamentally, it's not a safe company to be in. But I bet you it still has some upside movement to it. I think the momentum will carry it up even farther into next year. But when the bottom falls out, man, the bottom is going to fall out. Scary. Scary, scary, scary. You know, it's really unusual. If you take the forward PE and the earnings next year, $170.45 times 2.86. That matches the price right now, verbatim, right? But it's going to be a range in here somewhere, right? You take the current PE by next year's earnings, 622.81 times 2.86, a $1,781 stock. On $229 million of income. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense. There's not a lick of sense being made here, especially if I compare both of those to Apple. Law of big numbers. I get it. I don't know. I just scratched my head. Any other questions you guys have? If not, guys, I appreciate you. I will see you tomorrow night. Thursday's trade findings and adjustments is going to be pushed till Friday. Thursday's trade finding adjustments will be pushed to Friday. You guys have a wonderful evening. I will get this posted sometime tonight. Stay safe out there. Don't let COVID find you. If it does, Mod, don't hate me. Hopefully it'll just be a bad flu. You'll survive. We'll be good to go. And hopefully they'll make one of these vaccines where they'll attach to that molecule that that turns your lungs into cardboard and you'll make it through okay, right? The vaccine will just attack what attacks the lungs. We'll be in good shape. Guys, have a good evening, and I'll talk to you tomorrow evening. Good night.